Hi friends, thanks for joining me for part 3 of our grungy journal making. Part 2 ended with the finishing of this piece right here. In today's video, we are going to make another one of those, and then I'll show you how I put those in the journal. We will also be doing some decoupage on a paper bag that we're going to put in the journal. In case you missed yesterday's video, I wanted to mention this white piece that I'm using here. This is from packaging and it had a shiny surface to it, so I have already sanded it with my sandpaper. And I do that because it will help to ensure that whatever I glue to it will stick. I also mentioned in yesterday's video that my ink pad was getting kind of dry, and I ended up just putting a couple of drops of coffee in it, and it re-wet it, and it just worked out great. So there's a lot more ink in it now. You guys know that I like to use fabric in my projects, so we're going to go ahead and use a piece right here to layer on top of the corrugated cardboard. While I am working on this project, I wanted to mention to you that I was inspired by my friend Dale at Not Too Shabby Chic to create a grungy journal. She had suggested it during my 2K giveaway. And also I wanted to mention that this is a design team project for Line Dot Arrow, and I am using Natalie's kit called Vintage Victorian Beauties. I will be sure to put the link to Natalie's kit in my description box. Dale sent me this beautiful jewelry piece. Actually, she sent me a bunch of stuff, and I showed that off in yesterday's video. And I want to make sure to use as much as I can of everything that she sent me. And this is one of the pieces. So to ensure that it will adhere to the project long term, we're going to go ahead and take some sandpaper and sand up the back of it. That will create a porous surface that whatever I use to adhere it with, it'll be able to sort of sink into it. I have decided to use this adhesive. It's called Gem Tack, and it really does work well. As you can see, I also used a little bit of hot glue. There were some like divots in there, and I just wanted to make sure I got some glue in those spots as well. Here it is, it's dry and it is ready to put in the journal. In yesterday's video, I shared with you some of the book pages that I had taken out of a Reader's Digest book, and the images on those pages are beautiful. Well, these are the back sides of those pages, and since I'm going to adhere this flip to this page, I feel like I need to fortify the page a bit. I don't want it to just be a one-ply book page. I don't think it would hold up over the test of time. But using Mod Podge and then this thin pattern paper should give it extra strength, and then we should not have any problems. In keeping with our grungy aesthetic, I'm not going to be cutting. I will be tearing the edges off. And I'm going to be doing a lot of tearing in this journal. I just think it works better than having straight, perfect cuts. Once we ink this up, I think it will be ready for our corrugated cardboard piece. I have a beautiful piece of lace. As you can see here, it's in a nice neutral color. It's about 4 to 5 inches wide. I did receive that in Happy Mail, which was so lovely. We're going to go ahead and use that to adhere this corrugated piece to the book page. You will notice that I'm going to cut this lace sort of in a squiggly line. I think that straight would be pretty boring, so that's why I chose to go with a squiggly line. I think it is much more interesting. I want to be sure the edge of the book page is strong and can handle the weight of this piece. And yes, we've added decoupage to the back along with some pattern paper, but I just want to be sure. So I put a little bit of glue down and then a strip of washi tape right along the edge. I think it's better to do a little extra work and be safe rather than sorry. So you've seen a few times in the making of this journal that I took some book pages and I decoupaged about 3 pages together, and I made a few stacks of those just so I could grab them and use them. This was one of them, and you saw I just tore it right in half. I'm going to use that to create a little side pocket or a side tuck space. That being said, because I chose to do that, then I didn't really have to cut the lace in a sort of scalloped fashion. I could have done it straight, but when I worked on the lace, I didn't know that I was going to create a side pocket here. I work intuitively. I do not ever really plan my journals out. I just sort of get my materials together and just work and do what looks right, do what feels right. And in this case, a side pocket on this page is what I decided to do. That is nice and dry now, and here is our first flip. What do you think? I love it. And so on the back of that flip, you could do writing, you could add a picture, just whatever you want. You could do a piece of art if you wanted to. All right, we are moving right along, and I want to figure out how I want to adhere the next one. I've got a paper bag here. I just trimmed off the other end so that both ends open. I'm going to end up stuffing those with some coffee dyed papers, most likely. I'm using my decorative scissors here to trim off the edge, and that is just to give it some interest. I have a doily here that I've been using on my workspace, and I've been using it to deflect the light that shines onto the piece of glass that I work on. I use glass because it's super easy to clean up. I can just take a razor blade and remove glue, paint, anything that I happen to be using. But it's been sitting here and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and use that to create a pattern onto this paper bag. So I'm just using my ink from my ink pad and my dauber, and you can see we're creating a pattern here on the bag. This is the other side of the bag, and of course it's plain. So I think let's go ahead and use this piece to decoupage onto it. I'll use some other pieces too. This piece was given to me by my friend, by Mimi with Love. I've decided to add some lace to the back of this piece. Once I've got that added, then I'm going to go ahead and ink that up to make sure that it also looks good and grungy. I was trying to decide if this piece was going to go in a pocket or if I was going to make it into a flip, and ultimately I have decided to make it into a flip. So I'm going to attach it to this paper bag. I'm going to do so by using a piece of fabric. I'm going to adhere the paper to the inside of the paper bag first. Then I'm going to put this pink piece of paper on top of it just to be a buffer between the fabric and the other side of the paper bag, because you know how sometimes fabric tack seeps through the fabric and then it can stick to other things. Well, I don't want that to happen, so I'm just placing a piece of paper in there just to prevent that from happening. Now that I've got the paper adhered and dried to the inside of the bag, I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the piece we made. Coming up in just a few seconds, I'm going to show you it finished and how it works. I'll also show you the other one real quick. I'm super happy with how these turned out. I think it's super fun to have things that sort of are interactive in our journals, and this is a great example of that. Friends, I always appreciate you spending time with me. Thanks for watching. See you soon.